to our channel. My name is Sandra Fisher, and this is lesson 5 of Learn to Quilt. Now, I've got 2 different sizes of 505 spray, which is what we'll be using today. Use it in a very well ventilated area, and if you can't handle any type of adhesive spray because of lung condition or allergies or etc., then use pins, safety pins. But use the smaller ones that are designed for basting a quilt. You'll have better success with them. But I'm going to use the 505 spray. And I've had many beginner quilters use Minky as their backing and quilted on their domestic machines. By using the 505 spray, it has held their quilt beautifully. Whereas if those that had pinned it, they found they had puckers in the back. So I'm sold on using the spray. Now we have our backing all sewn together. And my table is too small, and I know that. But we're going to do the best we can. And we know we have about a 2-inch overhang on each side, and that's okay. And what we want to do, if you've got the area in the room, lay your backing out, starting in the center, and it's great to have somebody help you. And use your painter tape and just pin it to your table like this, so that it stays nice, flat, and smooth. You can pull kind of any wrinkles out that are still in there, and it will hold it for you. Okay. Now, because my table is a little too small, I'm just going to work with it as is. But that gives you the idea. You have to shake this 505 adhesive. And there's different brands out there. I'm using the Odif, I think it is, or Odif. But it's acid free, and that's what you want, it's acid free. 12 inches above, and you just spray. Have my batting right here, ready to go. It should be pretty well the same size as the backing. So I'm just going to line it up. You just smooth it out. And it sticks. Okay. I'm going to put the top on now. 2 inches bigger, the backing and the batting. So I know that I have about 2 inches to play with here. And because it's a temporary adhesive, you can pull it apart and start again. It's not a solid. You just gently smooth it out. Now if you're working on a bigger area, a bigger table, and you can see your whole quilt, start in the center and work out. But because I'm in such a small area here, I'm just working with what I have. Okay, now we can move it to the next section. You can feel where that adhesive is. When you're pinning, put your hand down. That's about approximately 4 inches, and you want your pins about 4 inches. And if you have a quilting design in mind, try not to put your pin where you're going to be sewing. Like I'm planning on going across like this, across the diagonal, because it's a fairly straight seam, easy to do. So I would be putting my hand in, but I would not put a pin right there in the middle because I'd have to stop and take that out as I'm sewing. Put it to the sides. If you're planning on stitching in the ditch, which is more difficult, don't put your pins in the ditch. And stitching in the ditch is stitching in this seam allowance all the way down. And you want to keep it right into that seam allowance. But that's part of the reason we sewed or pressed our seams to one side, because if you pressed your seams open and were stitching in the ditch, all you'd be doing is stitching your thread down. You wouldn't be catching anything. So you really want to work to catch your fabric, and because your quilt is as strong as the quilting. Sorry, you're going to hear some banging. My husband is fixing. We had a really bad storm yesterday, and it did some damage to our siding. And so he is outside fixing right now. And I apologize ahead of time for any banging. The neighbor's tree, the one that we did a video on quite a while ago, the joy of the poplar tree, fell over on top of their house. I was just going outside to grab a few, put the lawn chairs away and grab a few other items when I heard a crack, looked up, and the tree was going down. Luckily, no one was hurt, and it looks like their house is fine. I'm just going to put some tape here because that's kind of heavy and it's pulling this off the edge. So. Just help to hold this in place for me. It's great when you, this is a project you'd like to do with another. Get a few quilts ready and have a friend come over and help. It just makes the job that much easier. And this is a pattern that the more blocks you make and put together, the bigger it'll get. Now you know how to measure your borders, so you can put any size of a border on. You can put several borders on. There we go, that's smooth. Once you get it to this stage, you don't feel like sewing it right now. It'll stay like this for years. The adhesive will stay in it until you wash it out. And once you've washed it, then the adhesive has disappeared. So you don't want to wash it. But please, don't do this before you take it to a long armor. Okay. We are going to get started here. Now I have this table from another machine. It isn't for this machine. It was for a different machine I had. And it helps to bring your quilt up level if you don't have a set-in frame or a set-in table where your machine is down level. So I have seen, and I haven't done it yet, but maybe I will, taking foam and cutting out so that you can bring your tabletop to the same level as your machine. This will work. And another thing I would suggest is you don't want your quilt pulling off the back of your table. So put your table up against the wall into a corner. Place your ironing board on this side. It helps with the pull factor, especially larger quilts. It gives you an extra space to lay that quilt on. And quilting, you have to breathe. Put on some good music, hum along, sing a song, whatever you have to do. Remember to breathe. And if you feel your shoulders getting up around your ears, stop, shake them out, do a few stretches. To relax and start again. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to hurt, okay? Take your time and enjoy the process. I know by this stage it's starting to feel and look like a quilt, and we want to be able to use it. Now, I'm using Wonderful Threads Ultima brand. It is a 40 weight, and it has a polycore with a cotton wrap on the outside. And I like it. It's a long arming thread, but I like it for quilting. And you can use a long arming thread in your domestic machine as well. Just make sure you've got a size 90 needle on for quilting. And if you have a quilting needle, use it. Okay. And what else do we need to talk about here? I'll probably have a lot of tips. Oh yes. There's quilting gloves, and the reason you want quilting gloves is it's easier to grip your fabric to push it through, or to help hold it and pull it through. Now, the quilting gloves are quite expensive. If you can afford them, go get them. But I don't buy them because I need to be able to feel with my fingertips. And I found others that do too. So what I do is when they have garden gloves on sale, I go and pick up a few pairs of garden gloves. And I cut the ends of my fingers off. Ends of my fingers. The fingertips of the gloves off, not the ends of my fingers. So that I can feel the thread, I can thread things, I can feel the cloth. But this has a bumpy, sticky surface. Well, it's not really sticky, but it's a bumpy, rubberized surface, and it helps to maneuver the fabric. Okay, like you can see, I've got several different, all my right-handed ones are here because I end up using the right hand and I lose the left-handed ones. Sorry, that's just the way it goes for me. This pair I've had since I don't know when, forever. It's a good pair. But seeing as how these ones match, I'll put this one on. Okay. Now I'm going to get my machine set up. First thing I have to do is take this foot off because I need my quilting foot. Quilting foot is a must. It's not just used for quilting, it's used for sewing sheer or slippery fabrics together because it has feed dogs on it. So you have feed dogs top and bottom. Here you can see there's the feed dog sticking out. Okay, and this section here, part here, goes up on your needle arm where you tighten up your needle. And it pops around the shaft there. And you tighten it up. Now, when you move, when you start to sew, what that is going to do is you got your bottom feed dogs here and your top feed dogs, and it's going to grab all the layers and pull it through. So it's a real help. If you don't have a walking foot, get one. If you're just using your regular sewing foot, you're going to find out that you're going to get puckers on the top or the back. It's just not designed to quilt. And because you're just starting, we're not going to get into putting in the free motion foot. Use the same thread, top and bottom. When you're starting, you can play with that later. And you want to make sure that your machine is set up so your tension is good, both top and bottom. Okay, there we go. We're ready to start. Now I've said I was going to do the diagonal lines, so I'm going to do a row right down the center. I don't roll my quilts. I don't like a big log to have to work on. I would rather be able to manipulate the fabric. Okay, so you want to make sure everything is smooth underneath. First thing I'm going to do is put my foot down. Then I do needle down, needle up, and I pull up that bottom thread so that I have all my threads on top. See? There's my bobbin thread, here's my top thread. They're all up on the top. And hang on to both of those, pull them to the side, put that needle down, and we're ready to start sewing. Now I'm going to go from this corner to this corner. Needle down, make sure the bottom is smooth. You can feel that under there. If you're not sure, look under. It's not a fast process. Take your time. Down and place your hands on both sides so that your hands are moving with the quilt into the machine, like a picture frame. Okay, I'm not going to break that thread. I'm just going to turn this and stitch in the ditch to my next line, and I'll come back. You don't want to break your threads. The least amount of times you have to break a thread or cut your threads, stop and start, the better. Take a look, see how it's going. Awesome. Should I break my thread? No. This is what we're going to do. We're going to turn it. Stitch in the ditch till we get to the other half. And then we can sew it down. Now you could say that's enough stitching and quit. Just stitch around your border and do another seam inside the border, or some fancy stitch if you want. It's within the 4-inch mark. Most battings say you can quilt as wide as 10 inches. I don't suggest that. That's just my belief system. I like to have a quilt quilted at least within the 4-inch. So this way it's not 4 inches, this way it is, and it will hold. But I'm not done because I want it quilted. And as far as I'm concerned, you can never have too much quilting. So the more quilting the better. So now I am going to stitch here to the corner, and then I'm going to go the opposite direction diagonally again. That way I know it's not going to come apart very easily. Then I'm going to stitch around, make sure that I have stitched in the ditch all the way around my border, and I'll probably come out and maybe stitch along here. That's simple, and you can mark that. You could take a ruler and a chalk and mark, you know, where the center is. You want to leave a 1/4 inch here on the edge. So whatever this is left over, blocks were 5, so it'd be about 4.5 inches. So if you want to mark a 2 1/4 inch line all the way around, that would be great. Do something in that border because you're going to have more than 4 inches of unquilted space, especially on the lengths. And right now is a good time to get up, stretch, release the tension. If you've made it this far, you've got tension in your shoulders. I know that. I've done a lot of quilting over the years, and I have to get up and move around. So I'll see you in a moment. There, that was a nice break. I got a glass of water. Got to keep hydrated. Very important. And I'm going to sew to the corner. And finish off sewing and finish off the quilting the quilt. And in lesson 6 we'll do the trimming of the quilt. We'll show you how to trim it and put a binding on, and we'll have a done quilt. Oh no, we have to remember to label our quilt and give it a name. So start thinking of names. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Leave a comment. They all help us grow our channel. Enjoy your quilting, and we'll see you next week. Stay real. Bye.